Media station. WTUG HD2 Northport and W265CG Tuscaloosa. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide HD2 Northport and W265CG Tuscaloosa. A Town Square Media station. 1 minute to beat. You can forget about it. Touchdown, Alabama. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Alabama 1st and 10 on the 12. Again, Houston. He's got a hole. He's over. Alabama touchdown.
I'm just wondering if your listeners know how good a football player you were. I can still see you playing that fullback, knocking those players out of the way. And I believe I could have run behind you.
Martin, I can remember when we came to summer and you playing fullback up there. And I saw you in the weight room and watched you work out in the weight room. If you could pick up, you were strong enough to pick up the whole weight room. I really appreciate it, and I run back to the back. Biggest mistake we ever made.
The Martin Houston Show with national championship winning fullback Martin Houston, giving you 1 hour of intense, hard-hitting analysis from an insider's perspective. It's time for the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Good morning. Welcome into the Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9 on your radio dial. The Martin Houston Show can also be viewed live at Martin Houston Live on Facebook and YouTube, also at Tide109.com. And we also can be found at Martin Houston 35. And of course, today we have X's and O Sports Xavier Houston, so you can also find it broadcast on X's and O Sports as well. This is the day that the Lord has made, so let's rejoice and be glad in it. Take some time today to notice someone, love someone, serve someone, be the difference you want to see in the world today. Got a great show lined up for you. We're talking Bama hoops. Bama pulls out a big win last night, following the typical fashion when we played Vanderbilt Commodores, regardless of record. It's generally a close game with 17 of the last 18 games being 10 points or less, and over half of those by 5 points or less. And then lastly, Alabama getting 3 in a row up there, first time since the 80s. So big win for them. We'll break that game down, but also NFL draft coming up, and Nick Saban trying to break that glass ceiling. I have mentioned this for 3 days, so we will hit on that today. Something that Nick Saban has not been able to accomplish as the coach at the University of Alabama. So we will talk about that as well, and then we'll start looking into spring, and then we'll close things out with Scotty Hollins, Executive Director of Blueprint Ministries, presented by Johnson & Marshall Dentistry. Good morning, X. How you doing, sir?
Good morning. I'm doing good. Yeah.
Good. Glad to have you on again. And Bama coming off of this past weekend did not do what they need to do against Kentucky. Started off hot, then of course fell back into I guess some bad habits. And according to Nate Oates, kind of got lazy on defense. Did last night's starting lineup reflect a message from Nick Saban, from Nate Oates, in terms of Quinterly coming off the bench, and a guy who we know he's going to play because of hustle? Juwan Gary was not the starter nor the first guy off the bench. Went to Rojas first. So was that the two guys he was wanting to send a message to?
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely look at it like that. And it's funny, Quinterly still ended up being the leading scorer last night with 19 points, and was a huge part in Bama coming back and winning that game down the stretch. And, Gary was the hero just a couple games ago. But, but play kind of tailed off after that. So it was interesting to see both of those guys on the bench and Gary being a little bit further down than normal.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that last year it was obvious that Alabama got better when Quinterly came off the bench, and they went to that a couple times um, in this year, but then they went back to Quinterly being in the starting lineup. This is how he played last year down the stretch. This is when he played the best, was coming off the bench. So um, the difference is, do you feel confident that JD Davison can play and lead this team early on, or is he just too careless with the ball?
Yeah, it's the carelessness with the ball that kind of makes me question it. Yeah, it's one of those things that we've been talking about all season, where he'll have a game or two where it looks like he's caught up to the speed of college basketball, and then he'll have 2 or 3 games in a row where he's just making careless turnovers and things of that nature. But if he's able to be the starter and keep the games close and let Quinterly come off the bench in what seems to be more of a natural role for him, I don't think it's a bad thing.
Yeah, it's interesting. Some guys are just better coming off the bench, and sometimes you look at it, and that seems to be the case with Quinterly. So it'll be interesting to see if they go back to that. But once again, to Virgil Williams' statement on yesterday, one game we'll have one guy with a blowout game, but no one else will come along in the next game, comes along, and you have four guys in double figures. And that's what happened. I mean, he literally said that yesterday. And of course, last night was just that. Quinterly with 19, 17 in the second half. So really big time. Gurley with 11, JD Davison with 10, had the first 5 points of the game, and then Keon Ellis with 10. But when you start looking at the stats, this team 74-72, they got the victory, so you have to give them a shout out for that. And like I said, the first time since the mid 80s, that Alabama has beaten Vanderbilt 3 times in a row at home. Vanderbilt had won 4 in a row at home, so this wasn't an easy win. I guess for me, part of watching that game, man, was so frustrating. The first half, I ain't gonna lie to you, man. I was trying to watch the game, and I fell asleep probably 3 or 4 times in the first half. I mean, literally, it was so bad. The shooting percentages for Alabama was 37.9, and that was higher than Vanderbilt. And they were 35.8. So defense did their job. I mean, defense came out and did their job. Field goal percentage was 28.6 for Alabama, 33.3 for Vandy. And those two alone made the game really, really bad. But I will say this: as I watched that first half, I was like, okay, um, um, we're not shooting the ball really too hot, but fortunately we're playing defense and we're hustling and getting rebounds.
Yeah.
So you always felt like, and they even said it at halftime. Bradley and Burns said, man, if Alabama just do what they normally do, they'll come back out and win this game. And that's what we did. We knocked down some threes, and then we had a couple possessions where we got 3-point plays the old-fashioned way, and ones, and that's when we got out to that lead. But I guess watching this team is hard at times. It's fun at times, and it's hard at times. We just lost our mojo down the stretch, and how much of that was officiating? I mean, I think they shot almost 40 free throws last night.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the foul situation the last couple of games for Bama on the road. It's been a little lopsided, and sometimes you have to beat not only the team but the officiating. Alabama was able to get that done. You go back to Saturday, it just got kind of ugly. Kentucky only having 7 fouls the entire game versus last night. There's a few on Vandy, but it seems to be when Alabama's on the road, they home always gets that cookie.
Well, and Mason, maybe you can help me with this. What's his name had 26 points, 13 in the first half. Did he hit more than one field goal in the second half, or were all his points from the free throw line?
I'm not sure
I think he hit one maybe.
I believe at about the 5-minute mark. I think from the 5-minute mark on, I don't think Scottie Pippen Jr. took a field goal. I think it was pure free throws.
Yeah, and he had 13, and I know he shot I think 19 free throws. And
he was 14 for 18 from free throws,
18,
but 5 of 13 from the field.
And like I said, I think he hit one shot in the second half, one field goal in the second half, maybe two, because he scored, I know, like 8 consecutive points on free throws, and I'm like, and even though they did call fouls on Vandy had to almost knock us down to get a foul. And if you touched him, I was like, man, this is so bad. And I hate complaining about officiating, but I also hate when officiating puts themselves that much into the game. So,
Yeah, it can be frustrating, but just a little side note. Does that make you feel old?
what's that? No,
Pippen Jr.
nah. Nah, I am getting old, but that's all right. uh, Virgil Williams said JD is having that up and down game that but he's a freshman still adjusting to the speed of the college game. Quinterly is upperclassman and does the exact same thing. He had a good scoring game, but still had some stupid turnovers and boneheaded plays at times. And I agree. I don't think we win that game without Quinterly last night. And that's the problem. I don't think we win without Quinterly, but and for the majority of the game, Quinterly played really well last night. But then down the stretch, and that's what concerns me about this team. I said it yesterday, X. When things start going bad, this team doesn't have anybody that knows how to stop the bleed. Did you notice how many times, and even you can come in on this, Mason, they would huddle up, but their huddles would be so quick. I'm like, there's nothing. You're just huddling because that's what you do. There's no way you had enough time to communicate anything to each other because they walk together, put their hands, and then they would split up. And I'm like, what was said in that huddle that could mean anything, and the bleeding would just keep going. So it was kind of frustrating. We'll come back on the other side, wrap up the basketball talk. If you want to get your thoughts in on the conversation, give us a call at 205-342-9904. The Taco Casa hotline's open for business.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, no active red. Rainy Wednesday morning. The roadways are wet, so please slow down and be careful. If you see conditions, just give me a call. 205-886-8880.
Just a super easy at-home buying experience right here at Townsend Nissan. And with pre-owned vehicles starting at $14,995 and all pre-owned units are clearly priced, your total shopping experience will be easy here in a safe and secure environment versus those big city dealers. And the funnest part will be deciding which Townsend Nissan vehicle you would take home today.
TrackPhone wants to know, are you an influencer? A big live streamer? No? Then guess what? You don't need an endless data plan. Get just the right amount of data with TrackPhone's $40 unlimited talk and text smartphone. Now with 8 gigs of high-speed data and unlimited carryover on America's largest, most dependable network, now with 5G. Get the data you need at the price you want. TrackPhone Wireless. Now you're in control. Available at major retailers. 5G compatible device required. Actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary. See terms and conditions at trackphone.com. Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Sky mostly cloudy today and tonight. The chance of a few scattered rain showers. The high today 69. Tonight's low 52. A warm day tomorrow. A mixture of clouds and sunshine with only a small chance of a shower. The high in the upper 70s at 79. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 65 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Scott Smith and Sophomart Design, doing business for 17 plus years, specializing in graphic design services, commercial printing, promotional products, advertising specialties, and so much more. Basically, any and everything you would need to advertise, promote, and grow your business. Through strong partnerships, strong customer service, and creative ideas, they'll help you market and grow your business. Give Scott a call at 205-292-4680 or email scottis@comcast.net and visit them online at softmarkdesign.com.
Are you tired of living with chronic pain, knee pain, joint pain? Listen carefully, because now there are new treatments available here. Not talking surgery or steroids. These are regenerative treatments from the medical professionals at QC Kinetics. Hi, this is Gary Harris from the Gary Harris Show. QC Kinetics is the leader in these exciting biologic therapies that help restore and repair damaged tissue in your joints with lasting results. If you've got pain in your knees, shoulders, hip or back, joint pain that won't go away, you need to check out these new treatments with astonishing patient satisfaction reports. They can actually help your body restore and repair itself with no downtime, no drugs, no surgery. Don't go through another year with that awful joint pain, and don't let them put you under the knife. You need to learn more about how biologic therapies are changing the way we think about dealing with joint pain. Call QC Kinetics now for a free consultation. Locations in Tuscaloosa and Birmingham. Call 205-686-1941. That's 205-686-1941. 205-686-1941.
Interact with the Martin Houston Show by calling us at 205-342-9904 or tuning into the Martin Houston Show on Facebook.
You're back in with the Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9. We have X's and O's Xavier Houston joining us this morning as we continue a little basketball conversation. Got a couple of comments on chat that we'll get to, and then transition to a little football. JD Davison, he's a special talent, but he has, if he fixes the turnovers, we could see what this young man's really capable of. CJ Watson says, "I was surprised JD had a double-double. I spent the whole game yelling at him to put some more oomph on his passes. He could have easily had a triple-double with 10 turnovers. He got lucky a lot last night, but still turned it over a good bit. I love the kid. Zip those passes and go strong to the hole. He's virtually unstoppable if he does those two things." And that's what's crazy. I think he's worth another 6 to 10 points a game easily if he just goes to the hole strong, and when he know where he wants to go with the ball. He seems to predetermine way too much and has no outlet. So I don't know if he doesn't fully understand Xavier where his teammates are going to be. That is one part of Quinterly's game that's a little better. Quinterly loses the ball because he goes up weak and gets the ball slapped out of his hands and stuff like that. But Davison doesn't seem to know where all the outlet passes are or the passing lanes are and gets caught in the air. But I'm thinking a lot of times he's passing the ball and he's above everybody. Like he's at the rim, and the guy who would block his shot is below him, so he could let it go. So definitely 100%. We'll see what happens there. But any thoughts on that?
No, I mean that's spot on when you look at JD. It's just like be more physical. You're strong, you're fast, but you have to put it together to have that physicality when it comes to basketball as well. When you're talking about going to the whole finish, man, just it's the finishing because he, like you said, he freezes. His like he's going, and then he goes, wait, no, I need to pass. And then at that moment, he doesn't know where anybody's at.
Right. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to watch. CJ Watson said, and I'll ask you and Mason both this question. CJ Watson, coach got his point across from defensive intensity. The offense was painful to watch at time, but in my eyes, the stat of the game was Bama 22 for 25 from the free throw line. Bama doesn't win without shooting well from the free throw line. 88% from the free throw line. And we shot 25 free throws, but I think all our and of course we say that because we're Bama fans, I'm sure. But Virgil Williams making a point. Stackhouse was complaining about officiating. It was one point that he complained about officiating. They came out and made about 3 or 4 calls in a row that I was like, oh my God, those are ghost fouls. But I guess back to my point is, did Coach Oates get his point across in terms of defensive intensity, guys?
I think he did. I mean, when you talk about Nate Oates, people think offense first, fast basketball, getting shots, getting up threes. But I saw something that somebody said that comparing Nate Oates to Bruce Pearl, and it says that Oates teaches his his freedom through offense. So he's offense first. But Bruce Pearl teaches, hey, if you have intensity on defense, it frees up your offense. So if you could mash that a little bit at Alabama could be a really great team.
I think Nate Oates teaches that. I just think this team doesn't buy into the defense. I think Nate Oates is defense first. I don't think he's offense first. I think he's more play defense and get back on, and then the shots will come than Bruce Pearl is. I think Bruce Pearl is just executing it a lot better this year than last year.
Yeah, I mean that definitely might be the case. It's just that it makes zero sense why this team sometimes just has lulls defensively the way that they do, and
because
it doesn't help. It doesn't help when the shooting's bad as well.
I think that's part of the problem, though, Xavier. I think it's one and the same. I think this team is impacted defensively by their offensive shots. If their shots are falling, in the games where the shots fall, they tend to play better defense. However, the shots haven't been falling, so the defense to me this year has been lacking, which multiplies itself. The reason that the percentages, the possessions were so fast for Alabama in his first 2 years is because of how many transition threes and layups we got. We're not getting those, so our time of possession and how fast we play is affected. Mason, any thoughts from you on that angle?
Yeah, I mean, I think I tend to agree with what you're saying about Nate Oates. I think he is, at its core, I think this system is, it's focused on the defensive end and it's focused on creating offensive opportunities through your defense. And I think this team doesn't really do it. I think this team just doesn't really play to the system that Nate Oates has tried to implement. I think they've kind of gotten away from it, and in the team mind, it's all about the 3-pointers, it's all about scoring, but it's really not. It is about playing defense and creating opportunities through your defense.
Yeah, and I think that's magnified is you have to have the intensity on defense. Thus, coming out of a game where we scored 81 points, he emphasized defense, and he made a point. Hey, if you don't play defense, I don't care what you do on the other end. Your defensive intensity has to pick up, and I thought that was an interesting thing. Any thoughts, guys, on Shaq? Shackelford, like last night's game. he had a couple of big shots. I mean, just big shots. But it was almost like he was just kind of out there for majorities of the game. Was that as a result of him having to give? He did give a little bit more effort on the defensive end, and did it take his legs away on the offense? Because he was just, like I said, he just seemed like he was just kind of out there a lot more versus being as engaged.
Yeah, I mean, the last 3 games for him have been weird after that tear that he was on, where he just it doesn't look like him, so I don't know what's really going on. Maybe it is the defensive effort, but I'd like to see him get some more shots. So, he's been the leading scorer. He's effective in that role. So I want to see both.
Yeah, Mason, any thoughts on that before we get to Pat?
I think I tend to agree with what you guys are saying about Shaq. I think the last few games he's just kind of gotten in this weird little slump where he's just he's not really playing in the system. He's kind of just doing his own thing out there.
Yeah, and that it's it seems chaotic, but there is a system to the madness of Nate Oates basketball, and it's play hard on defense, and you'll get some run out threes and layups and all that. And one thing we saw last night, even though the officials brought it back home and made it close down the stretch, in my opinion. And Alabama responded, fortunately, by continuing to shoot well from the free throw line. But defense, you can win with great, intense defense, and Alabama did that last night. Even though they got 74 points, virtually at one point, I think half of Vandy's points were at the free throw line. So they shot over 30 free throws, made over 70% of them, kept them in the game. But Alabama was still able to get the win. Pat, you're in with the Martin Houston Show. What's on your mind, sir?
Good morning, Martin. Let's transition back to football, man. We're a football show.
No, hold on, Pat. This is not a football show. This is a sports show that leans heavy on football. Don't tell every. I want those people that like basketball and softball and all that. I want them to watch. Now we are heavy football now, but don't tell them we just a football show. All right. Go ahead now, Pat.
I'll quit talking about gymnastics. It hurts my feelings. Let's talk about football and recruit.
Yes, sir.
My favorite subject. Man, we got us a 5-star cornerback in Mr. Hurley. And did you see what the young man had to say? That he wants to help recruit the best class ever. That and get back what Texas A&M stole from us with $30 million in their war chest. Texas ATM. He came to Alabama over Texas ATM. Anyway, man, is it not crazy what the young man had to say? He said, I'm going to help coach recruit the greatest class ever so that when the current players are gone, we can still win natties. Well, I just love what the young man had to say. What do you think, Martin?
Well, I mean, it's always good when you get a kid who understands team more than me, especially in this culture. He understands that if they're going to win natties, it's about getting a bunch of guys to come in with you to help build that. And so his comments were, I'm sure, pleasing to Coach Saban's ears and to Bama Nation as a whole.
Yeah. I really like what he said when he left Coach Saban's office. Coach said, "I'm depending on you." That was just everything about it was just great,
Yeah.
And the fact that we're already the number 22 recruiting class in the country with only 2 recruits, Morton. Hey, man, that's great. That's wonderful. All right. Anyway, I just wanted to give you some good news this morning. But it was Vanderbilt. I don't realize it. Now Vanderbilt used to be pretty good in basketball.
Here's the thing,
Anybody in the SEC is a good thing.
Well, beating Vanderbilt there is a big deal for Alabama. For whatever reason, that court has been a nemesis for Alabama. This is the first time since the 80s, Pat, that Alabama's won 3 in a row. And Vanderbilt got they had a couple injuries. I don't know if you realize Vanderbilt had won 4 in a row at home and had won 6 out of their last 7 or 8 games. So since they got their players back, and they were playing pretty good basketball for a game this late in the season. I think that their record, in some ways, not to the level of ours, Pat, didn't represent the quality of team. And it's always a close game, though. It doesn't matter. Alabama could have a record that was +5 in the win column, and we still play Vanderbilt close. So Vanderbilt plays us close. So big win. And they start a win streak, Pat. I predicted they go 7-1 down the stretch. I think they'll take care of South Carolina this week, and so that leaves A&M, ATM as you call them, and LSU down the stretch. So this team very well could end the season 7-1.
Yeah, and like I said, it's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, man.
Yeah, it's definitely that.
But anyway, hey, it's a great to talk to you this morning, and hey, Coach is working his magic. If he can pull the cream just in the state of Alabama, that the recruits for 2023 in the state of Alabama, it's amazing class.
Yeah, it's supposed to be one of the deepest ever. So we'll watch it and we'll talk to Hank about it tomorrow. Thanks, Pat. Appreciate you, sir.
Call back then. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yes, sir. Coming back on the other side, we'll continue the conversation right here on the Martin Houston Show. Don't forget to go visit Alabama One, your one source, Alabama One Insurance. I'm sorry, your one source for all your insurance needs. Stop by and get a quote today. We'll be glad to help you right there at Alabama One Insurance, located in the main building on 15th Street, Veteran Memorial Parkway, or you can go online to alabama1insurance.com.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, no active wrecks on a rainy Wednesday morning. The roadways are wet, so please slow down and be careful. If you see conditions, just give me a call, 205-886-8886. Townsend Nissan has the savings, selection, and service that you want and need. Go see them. You'll save. I'm Captain Ray.
Hello, this is Martin Houston with the Martin Houston Show, and I want to tell you about one of our great sponsors, Overflow Express Wash. Their mission is to provide great customer service with a showroom clean car and an exceptional customer service experience. They have the basic car wash that starts at $7, but you need to check out the premium wash packages, which start as low as $12 and go up to $20. They also have a membership wash club that you can get for starting at $23.99, going up to $39.99. In other words, just double the regular premium package, drop a penny, and you can be one of the great members of Overflow Express Wash. My family and I keep our cars looking good inside and out by using Overflow Express Wash. They're located on Skyland Boulevard right next door to Alabama One, or you can find them online at overflowexpresswash.com. Andy Phillips and his team look forward to making you a part of their team.
Has the pandemic affected your business? Even with more and more customers going online in the past 5 years, online business has grown greatly due to the pandemic. Now more than ever, it's important to have a strong online presence so that customers can find your business and products easily. That's where Townsquare comes in to help. Go to mylocalcustomers.com for a free competitive analysis to see how your business stands up to the competition. And if you're one of the first to sign up, you'll get $500 in free advertising on this radio station. That's mylocalcustomers.com.
How do you make the most of your land? If you ask the Wrens, who run with us on a John Deere mower, they tell you,
I mow first, then I do all the trimming.
But the Hubbards, who work behind the wheel of the John Deere compact tractor, would say,
if it's something you want, just go after it and try it.
Then there's the Mosers, who may mention from the seat of their John Deere Gator UTV,
You can't be all work and not play.
There are millions of ways to make the most of your land. Learn how to make the most of yours at Deere.com. Nothing runs like a Deere.
Dell Technologies President's Day business sale has arrived. For a limited time, save up to 45% on all our latest gear to work from anywhere with fast free shipping. Dell Technologies recommends Windows 11 Pro for business, so now's the time for incredible savings on PCs, along with servers, monitors, and docks, all with free shipping and quick installation and setup through Dell Installation Services. Get started by shopping online or contacting your Dell Technologies advisor today at 877-ASK-DELL. Again, the number to call is 877-ASK-DELL.
Nick Saban calls it the process. John Maxwell said that everything rises and falls on it. And Coach Wooden said it's what you learn after you think you know it all that makes the difference. What am I talking about? Leadership and personal development. Is your organization, your school, your church, your family, are they receiving the proper level of leadership development and personal development? If not, the Empowerment Center for Leadership and Mentoring can help you with that. We have our pep talks, which is a 1 to 1.5 hour lunch and learn, which we can customize to meet your needs, or we have some topics that we present that we know can help your organization. And if you're looking for one-on-one mentoring and coaching, we can also assist you with that. Visit peptalks35.com. That's peptalks35.com, or send an email to martin@martinhouston.org. That's the Empowerment Center for Leadership and Mentoring.
Welcome back to the Martin Houston Show, the sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team, on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, you're back in with the Martin Houston Show. Man, this is a beautiful day, and we're glad to have you on with us. We got Scotty Hollins coming up in the fourth quarter, but kicking off the second half. X, I have been tossing up this glass ceiling that Nick Saban has never crossed. Okay, Nick Saban has his winning percentage, X, is like over 87% at Alabama. He's in 15 years, he's lost like 23 games. Okay, some crazy number like that, something like that. He has more first rounders than anybody ever. I mean, you can't watch a game. I think there may be one or two franchises that doesn't have multiple players on the roster. And that's not even counting. You can't even keep up with how many guys in the pros. Like Carson Tinker is doing a commercial about winning the Super Bowl because he ended up getting picked up on the practice squad by the Rams. I mean, it's crazy what he's done. 7 national titles, multiple SEC titles. Clearly, in my opinion, the GOAT. But glass ceiling. He's never had the number 1 overall pick.
And the thing about it is he's never had the number 2 pick at Alabama.
So
the best he's had is number 3, Marcel Darius, and I think Quentin Williams was number 3 as well.
Yeah.
So he's not had a top 2 pick, but that really looks like it's going to change this year when you look at the Jacksonville Jaguars and what they need. They invested a lot in the future of their franchise in Trevor Lawrence last year, and they have to protect him. And so when you look at that, you look at, of course, the mammoth, 6'7", 350-pound Evan Neal, who can do 50-inch jump box splits and things of that nature. So it looks like Evan Neal really might be the first Alabama player and first Nick Saban player, period, number 1 overall.
Yeah, well, that the Alabama's had 1 overall player in the NFL, and that was 74 years ago. Harry Gilmer in 1948. Joe Namath was picked number 1 in the 1965 draft by the AFL, which did eventually merge with the NFL 2 years later. But Neil potentially the first pick in the draft by the Jaguars. And so it'll be interesting to see if he breaks that glass ceiling. It would be something that will once again be just another one of those things that Nick Saban has done. And with everything pointing out, the only reason he doesn't go number one is if somebody sitting at position 3, 4, or 5 may want to jump in front of the number 2 team, because it totally makes sense that you protect that young investment you have. And Evan Neal has shown that he has the ability to be that type of player. So
Yeah, I mean, he's in talks when you look around the NFL world and look at what some of the draft scouts are saying for the top number 1 tackle spot. You have Charles Cross out of Mississippi State and the tackle out of North Carolina State. I'm not gonna mispronounce his name, but if you really look at it, I don't know if you're going to get a size, speed, power that you get with Evan Neal. He's 30 to 50 pounds bigger than both of those guys. Once he's tall, and he seems to move well. I know with the combine coming up, you have a great opportunity to show off that athleticism, and I think that's what we're focused on.
Yeah, well, the question becomes, will the combine even take place as 100 and I think 155 of the 200 plus guys all prepared to boycott the NFL combines? Real quick, kudos to Evan Neal. I just, if you had told me that an offensive lineman with all of the talent and skill positions that he has, I mean that Nick Saban's recruited, that it would have been an offensive lineman that gets it, that first overall spot, I would have told you you're crazy. But if it happens, we're making a bold prediction here. If it happens, will Alabama have at least back-to-back years where they have the number 1 overall pick?
It's a good chance, and I like Alabama's chances next year actually better than this year, just because you don't know what could happen. But when you look at Will Anderson Jr. and Bryce Young coming out next year, if it doesn't happen this year, when you look at the biggest positions in football, it's quarterback, tackle, and edge rusher.
Yeah.
And Alabama has 3 of those guys with that type of talent in the next 2 years.
Let me ask you a crazy question, and I know this sounds crazy. If this was Bryce Young, Will Anderson's draft eligible year, Mason, I'd like to get your thoughts on it. This is just a fun thought. Would Alabama possibly have 1, 2, and 3? Think about that for a second. If Bryce Young, it
would be in consideration. In my opinion, Evan Neal is the top tackle in this year's class. I do believe Will Anderson will be the top edge rusher in next year's class, the top defensive player in next year's class. And when you look at the quarterbacks for next year, if he was in this year's class, it's not a question. If he was the number 1 quarterback, would be.
No, that's what I'm saying. If they were eligible this year, would we possibly be talking about? Let me see. Jacksonville.
Over Hutchinson and Thibodeau, and Detroit needs a new quarterback. I don't think they're going to stick with the offense long. So you're talking about a real.
What do you think, Mason? Would Alabama be 1, 2, and 3? I mean, of course, this is just hypothetical, but just you don't realize how much top tier talent this team had, even though there was a lot of gaps in this 2021 team. It may be potentially the best three in the Nick Saban era at those three positions.
I agree. I mean, it's hard to disagree with that. I think if these guys were all eligible this year, they would certainly be the top three picks. Those, Bryce Young and Will Anderson. You hear it all. You heard it all last year. Every draft analyst that that talked about this year's draft talked about how if those guys were eligible, they were the top two players in this year's class.
Yeah. So here's the first three teams. If it stays the way it is, Jacksonville, Detroit, and the Texans. All right. So the Houston Texans.
I believe it would run Evan Neal, Bryce Young, Will Anderson, and Will's the best of the three.
Yeah, that's the crazy part is would that not? Well, I guess. Go ahead.
You could potentially just because Detroit has a late first round pick, you could potentially say they want to get the best playmaker, so they could potentially take Will and then get a quarterback later in the first round.
Yeah, because they have one, but who? How far? That means that you think Bryce Young would fall? Because it would make sense. The Giants or Carolina.
I don't think he falls past 3. I don't think he falls past Houston. I believe Houston would draft him and trade Watson.
Yeah, that's so. Either way, that's crazy to think about. And next year, you're looking at the same thing. So it'd be that would be fun to track, and we may pick up that conversation projecting next year. We also need to talk about spring ball. We'll kick that conversation to tomorrow in terms of Alabama spring ball. May have a little true false deal no deal on tomorrow as well. Coming back on the other side, we will continue our conversation or pick up conversation with Scotty Hollins as he has been challenging us how to incorporate our faith into the boardroom, classroom, or our chosen field of play. That presented by Johnson & Marshall Dentistry.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa thread. Good Wednesday morning, 5-2. That was last week's Tuscaloosa City Council vote on a new council and school board district map. It was also the final adoption vote tally at last night's council meeting. Critics claim the map should allocate another majority-minority district to reflect the city's 52% non-white population. First District Councilman Matthew Wilson claims more should have been done. The city has until April to finalize any redistricting maps. Click TuscaloosaThread.com for more local news, sports, and weather coverage. It's free on Hartley Town Square Media at Tuscaloosa.
Hello, this is Martin Houston with the Martin Houston Show, and I want to tell you about Tuscaloosa Custom Carving. If you're looking for a way to add value to your home, make your flower beds pop, make your landscaping stand out from your neighbors, then Tuscaloosa Custom Carving can help you do just that. They have numerous styles, but they feature the Moroccan Stone Curb series, which includes 4 great styles and unlimited color choices. That's Tuscaloosa Custom Carving. They are the one that can help you stand out from your neighbors. Tuscaloosa Custom Carving, 205-331-6823. You may also find yourself with the need for a custom size stone or custom shaped stone. Then Tuscaloosa Custom Carving can help with that as well. Paul Fuller and his team are waiting on your call right now for that free quote. And if you tell them that Martin Houston with the Martin Houston Show told you to stop by, you'll get a big discount. So call Tuscaloosa Custom Carving at 205-331-6823 or visit them online at Tuscaloosa Custom Carving, LLC.
It's Tango Day, everybody. Follow after me and step and back and slide and dip. That's tango.
Why is Ice-T leading a tango class?
It's probably the heart-shaped Honey Nut Cheerios. He found out they can help lower cholesterol. Now he's having fun taking care of his heart in all sorts of new ways.
Let's see those hips move, people.
Hurry and get your heart-shaped Cheerios. They're only here for a limited time.
Paid for by Christian Care Ministry.
Let's see, if something costs less, but people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that's MediShare. Maybe you've heard switching to MediShare to pay for healthcare can save the typical family $500 a month, and that's huge, but it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch, too. The customer satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. MediShare works. It's been around for more than a quarter century, and members have shared more than $3 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So, yeah, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need: 855-51-BIBLE. That's 855-51-BIBLE. 855-51-BIBLE.
The sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team. The Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Let's begin now.
All right, welcome back into the Martin Houston Show. It's a beautiful Wednesday morning, and it means that it's time for our weekly catch-up with Executive Director of Blueprint Ministries, Scotty Hollins. Good morning, Scotty. How you doing, sir?
Hey, good morning, Martin. I'm doing great, and how are you?
I'm doing well. So glad to have you on with us once again. Want to toss it to you, let you encourage us on how we can incorporate our faith into the boardroom, classroom, or our chosen field of play wherever the Lord may lead us.
Absolutely. Well, hey, we're going to continue with our series, First Things First. Again, beginning we start a new year. I know all those New Year's resolutions are pumped and they're going, right? You guys have not let them slide yet, and please don't let this one slide either, because we will continue to focus on the things that we need to have in our lives to build a firm foundation for our life for the rest of this year, for the rest of our lives. So remember, we talked about Christ being the center. Remember, we talked about that looked like living life off the throne and living a life submitted to Him. This is one of the foundations that we need to, that is the foundation we need to start with. But then another couple pieces to that puzzle, spending time in God's Word on a consistent basis. Remember, we talked about these becoming habits and not just, okay, here's something I can do occasionally, but the goal is that these foundational pieces, building blocks, if you will, become habits in your life. And so then we talked about the funny thing about habits is if you develop them, they will develop you. So spending time in God's Word consistently, that's the way that's the way God speaks to us. We spend time in His Word. He speaks to us through His Word, but also spending time in prayer consistently. That's the way we speak to Him. And then we talked about another habit and another building block, spending time with other Christians. That we spent a couple of weeks on that last week, and this talks about just how we engage other people around us. When you accept Christ, you're part of a team, and you get a chance to lock in with a team that's on a mission, and you get a chance to again be encouraged by them, because sometimes it seems like our team's not doing so well, and then you get to focus and accomplish something special together and celebrate when it looks like our team is doing a little bit better. But the point is, you're part of a team. Make sure you're connected to the team. And then finally, we're talking about, we'll spend a couple of weeks on this one. As we look at building a firm foundation, first things first. Here's one of the last points I'll make, but we may spend here a couple of weeks here. It's sharing Christ. So one part of connecting with, those around you is just being encouraged by them, being held accountable, being poured into. Okay. Now, guess what? Those are other people that are on the team. Guess what? But we also got to do a little recruiting and go out and get others to join the team. Okay. And the way we recruit is we share the gospel. We go and tell people about Jesus, what He's done, all right, and how He lived a perfect life. He died on the cross for our sins, and how there's only one thing separating us from God, and that's sin. And there's only one way for our sins to be forgiven, and that's by us placing our faith alone in Christ alone. That's the message we share, and we call that witnessing or evangelizing or sharing the gospel. So this is the next habit, again, that I want you to begin to think through. Now, I know you're thinking, and that's why I'm going to spend a couple weeks here. I know you're thinking, well, Scotty, what if I share the gospel and folks looking at me all crazy? What if I share the gospel and people think, oh, you think you're a holy roller? Or what if I share the gospel and people look at me differently from that point forward? Well, newsflash, they probably will look at you a little bit differently, but that's okay. What if I share the gospel, Scotty, and nobody ever accepts Christ? Good question. That's not your job. Isn't for somebody to accept Christ. Let me give you a passage. Your job. Let me just say this. Your job is to share the gospel and to leave the results up to God. Paul says this in 1 Corinthians chapter 3. He says, hey, one man plants the seed when it comes to salvation. One man waters it, but only God can provide the increase. So, and he actually goes a little bit further because people were giving him more credit than he was comfortable with. And he says, so neither is he who plants nor he who waters anything.
Right.
But only he who provides the increase. And so his point was, my job is to share the gospel. And God will provide the increase. And I want you to know, I want to take the pressure off you. You can't save anybody. Nor can I. Nor have I ever. Nor will you ever. But you can share the gospel. That's what he wants us to do. Now, I see Martin smiling real hard, so I'm going to pause right here and let you say something.
Hey, listen, we got a bunch of sports fans listening. As you were describing that, I was thinking about the transfer portal. You think about Jameson Williams, right? Nick Saban wanted him out of high school. You look at Jermaine Burton, Alabama wanted him out of high school. What did they do? They witnessed and shared all the great benefits of Alabama. And then those two guys went on to another school. And then when they had an opportunity or the time presented itself, because of what had been shared, it looked like to everybody else we lost them. But ultimately, they ended up coming into the Alabama fold. Well, to me, that's the same way with the gospel. Is you just share all of the great benefits of what it would mean to be on Christ's team, and then you pray and you keep in good relationship. You don't dog them. You don't put them down. You don't condemn them. You just be there. And then when the opportunity presents itself and the portal opens up, you welcome back into the fold. So,
hey, 2 words.
That's right. So Christianity was the original transfer portal. All right, Scotty. Yeah, thanks, man. I love having you on. I'll give it to you to tell our listeners where they can find you. Stay in touch with all the good stuff you're doing, man.
Absolutely. You can go to www.blueprinttuscaloosa.com. You can send me a message there. It comes straight to my email.
All right. Hey, that's Scotty Hollins, Executive Director of Blueprint Ministries, telling us first things first, building a firm foundation for 2022 as we choose to walk out in faith. Thanks, Scotty. We'll holler at you.
Hey, thank you.
All right. Roll Tide. All right. And that's Xavier Houston. He's not executive director, but leader of X's and O Sports. X, have a good one, man. Thanks for being a part of it. We'll catch you back on tomorrow as well. Roll Tide, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. And thanks to all the callers, listeners, chatters, viewers, followers. Thanks to Mason and everybody being a part of the program. Wishing you nothing but the best. This is Martin Houston saying Roll Tide. And remember this, trust in the Lord always. Lean not your own understanding. All your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. Roll Tide, guys.
Thank you for listening to the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.